All right, let's talk about something that most people outside of policing probably never heard of. But every police officer, they must know this and they must follow it. It's known as the use of force wheel. How do cops decide how much force to use on someone in a split second? Let's break it down. Now, I know a lot of Canadians are frustrated with their justice system. Me too, especially when it comes to self-defense laws and knowing what you can and can't do. I've made multiple videos about it. But here's the thing. The way that police are trained to make quick second decisions in very intense situations, it's actually a lot like how regular people would have to think when protecting themselves or protecting their family members. It's not a secret either. You don't have to be a cop to know this. So I'm going to walk you through the use of force wheel because once you get it, it'll make a lot of sense. Plus, it's kind of cool to know how things work. Here it is, the use of force wheel. It looks complicated at first, but trust me, it gets pretty straightforward once you break it down. This is something, again, that every police officer in Canada has drilled into them. And I'm going to walk you through it so it makes sense. And whether you're curious about policing or you just want to maybe understand self-defense better, this is a game changer. So let's dive in. In the center of the wheel, you've got the situation, how the person you're dealing with is acting. Are they cooperative, chilling, passive resistant, like refusing to move, active resistant, maybe, pulling away from you? Or are they assaultive even, throwing punches, or listen, even worse, are they posing a deadly threat? The arrows that go around it, it kind of shows that the situation, it's always spinning. The situation is always changing and it changes fast. Officers have to keep up. It's always in motion. So in the middle, that's the subject or the suspect. That's the person that the police are dealing with. Surrounded by that, you've got the officer's options from the least amount of force to the most. And let's go through them. First off, we got officer presence. Sometimes just showing up in a uniform, it can change the vibe in a situation. Imagine a rowdy crowd, sometimes a cop car rolling up. It's enough to calm things down. Or sometimes a cop car rolling up, it's also enough to really kind of jack things up a little bit too and take things to the next level. Next, we have communication. Just simply talking to somebody, maybe calming them down if that's even possible. Establishing a common ground or giving clear commands. They call that tactical communication at police college. Now, truth be told, I've always been pretty good at tactical communications. When I was in police college, I didn't go to college or university. I went to trade school. I'm a licensed carpenter. So when I went to police college, I struggled a bit with the academic material, memorizing and writing things down in the reports. I knew all the material, but I struggled with it. So my marks were a little lower in that section. But when it came to tactical communications and dealing with people, my marks were kind of towards the top of the class. So again, we all bring different strengths and weaknesses to the job. I just kind of thought I'd share that. Next is soft control. So gentle physical stuff like guiding somebody's arm to escort them or putting on the handcuffs without them struggling. And then we go to hard control. So this is where things ramp up. Think about takedowns, tactical strikes, taking control of a threat. Intermediate weapons, you can see where I'm going. Tools like a taser, baton, for example. Maybe somebody swinging at an officer. The taser might stop them without causing serious harm. And last, we have lethal force. So this is a last resort, as it should be. Using a firearm when there's a real threat of death or somebody's pointing a firearm at you, for example. Threat of death towards you or perhaps a member of the public. See how the actions police take circle around the situation? Officers pick their response based on what's happening, and they're always reassessing. It's not a ladder where you climb up step by step, more intense as you go. It's a wheel, always changing. You can jump from someone you're dealing with in a very respectful manner to pulling a taser if they suddenly pull out a knife, for example. Or if they drop that same knife and they surrender, then you got to scale it right back to, just handcuffing them. Officers don't want to use any more force than they should. At least that's the way it should be. Their goal is to keep everybody safe with the least amount of force possible. But in a split second, things can go from calm to chaotic. One of the reasons why an officer has to know this so well is because there's no time to pull out a textbook and read it when you're in the middle of a dynamic situation. Okay, the suspect is doing this, so now I'm going to move to this level of force. That's not going to happen. It's got to be not just reactive, but it's got to be instinctive. Every move an officer makes is going to get scrutinized by their superiors, lawyers. They're going to answer to it in court. Why did you use that level of force? And they have to justify their actions, which is fair. The wheel guides them to make sure that their response is reasonable, justified, and proportional to the threat. But it's not easy, especially when things go from 0 to 100 in a fraction of a second. Even at a stress level 10, A police officer is expected to remain cool and collective enough to be constantly reassessing the situation. So imagine an officer walks up to somebody who's calm and they're just talking, communication level. Then boom, that person pulls out a knife. The situation just flipped to a deadly threat, and the officer might need to jump to a higher level of force, like drawing their firearm or drawing their taser to keep themselves and others safe. But it works both ways. If that same person now drops a knife and they put their hands up or behind their back, the officer is expected to immediately scale back down, maybe to soft control, like cuffing the person. Suspects, they don't follow the steps, okay? They skip the steps. It's not fair. They can go from calm to dangerous in an instant. And officers, they have to adapt, and just as fast. And yeah, it sounds straightforward here, like it's pretty easy, but in real life, that could happen for a variety of different reasons. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know their state of mind. There could be mental health concerns, or they're in a drug-induced state of psychosis. Going from a life-threatening moment back to being calm within seconds, it's tough. Officers get grilled in court if they don't get it exactly right. So again, here's why this matters to you. A lot of Canadians, they're frustrated with the self-defense laws. They're wondering what's okay to do if you're in danger. The use of force wheel, it's not just for cops. It's a way to understand how anybody can respond to a threat. You're basically doing the same thing that officers do. Sometimes you're forced into it, assessing the situation and responding reasonably. And you've never attended police college, and maybe you have zero training. A member of the public can be scrutinized just as much as police. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this in terms of self-defense and protection. That's difficult, even for the police. So imagine a member of the public who's not trained. If somebody's yelling at you in a parking lot, maybe you just walk away. So that's just like officer presence or communication. If they grab your arm, you push them off. That's self-control. If they pull a knife, you're going to do whatever it takes to survive, as long as it's reasonable. That's straight out of Canada's self-defense laws, like Section 34 of the Criminal Code, which says your response has to match the threat. And that's the problem. I kind of touched on this briefly, but you can't expect a citizen to remain calm, cool, and collective if somebody just kicked in their door and it's 2 a.m. and their family's all sleeping. If you've never trained, you've never been in a situation, how can we, the rest of the public, expect that person to act rationally? They're not going to act rationally. People do weird things when they panic. You don't know the motives of the person that broke into the house. They shouldn't be there. It's 2 a.m. They shouldn't be there. Imagine getting ripped apart on the stand the way a police officer does with years and years of training. And the problem is people are forced into these situations more and more every day. It's very sad. So the use of force wheel, yeah, it's a police training tool, but it's a pretty good way for anybody to understand, officer or civilian, how you're going to be judged when you use force, whether right or wrong. Listen, this video is really quick. I just kind of covered the basics. There's a lot of fantastic videos out there that really kind of do a deep dive into this. If it interests you, check it out. And I would normally end this video by asking a question like, do you think we need clarity or new legislation regarding Canada's self-defense laws? Okay, but I think we're beyond that point now. I hope you enjoyed this video, or at least find it interesting. And if you do, please consider subscribing to my channel. I enjoy making these videos, and I have lots more to come. So listen, thanks for watching. And until the next one, stay sharp, stay safe, stay Canadian.